Fireflies have always been a magical sight on dark nights, lighting up our backyards, fields, and forests with their bright, flickering lights. But have you ever wondered why they are disappearing? Why does it seem like we don't see fireflies as much as we used to? What is happening to these fascinating little creatures that have enchanted generations? Today, we're going to talk about fireflies, their incredible bioluminescence, and the reasons behind their decline. Stay with me until the end, because you'll discover a surprising fact about them that you probably haven't heard before. Fireflies, also known as lightning bugs, are part of the Lampartidae family, a group of beetles with the extraordinary ability to emit light. This light is not just beautiful, it's an essential means of communication between fireflies. Did you know that their light is used to attract mates? That's right. Each firefly species has its own flashing pattern, like a secret light code that only members of the same species can understand. When a male flashes his light, he's hoping that a female from the same species will flash back, starting a courtship process. What makes this light so special is a process called bioluminescence. Unlike the light we're familiar with, firefly light doesn't produce heat. It's a chemical reaction inside their bodies, where a substance called luciferin combines with oxygen, creating this cool light. This phenomenon is so efficient that nearly all the energy from the reaction is converted into light, something scientists are still trying to replicate in our technologies. Now, you might be wondering, if fireflies are so fascinating, why aren't we seeing them as much anymore? Well, there are several reasons, and they all point to the impact of human activities on the environment. The first and perhaps most significant reason is habitat loss. Fireflies, like many other insects, depend on specific environments to survive. They prefer moist areas, like fields with low vegetation and the edges of rivers and lakes. But these places are disappearing. With urban expansion, the construction of roads, buildings, and developments, many of the fireflies' natural habitats are being destroyed. Without these environments, they simply can't reproduce or feed. Another major reason is light pollution. Remember how we said fireflies use their light to communicate and find mates? With the increase in artificial lighting in cities, towns, and even rural areas, that communication is being disrupted. Fireflies become disoriented with so much light around, and females may not notice the male's flashes, resulting in less mating and, consequently, fewer fireflies in the next generation. Imagine trying to have a conversation with someone in the middle of a fireworks show. It would be nearly impossible to hear the other person, right? That's what happens to fireflies in areas with too much light. In addition, chemical pollution also plays a major role in the decline of fireflies. The indiscriminate use of pesticides and other agricultural chemicals can directly affect these insects. Fireflies feed on small prey like snails and slugs, which are also affected by pesticides. If the firefly's food disappears or becomes contaminated, they can't survive. And like many insects, they are extremely sensitive to changes in their environment, making them vulnerable to any alteration in soil or water quality. Another worrying factor is the increase in climate change. Global warming is altering patterns of rain, droughts, and floods, and this directly affects the habitat of fireflies. As we mentioned, they prefer moist areas, and with more unpredictable weather, those habitats are rapidly changing. Prolonged droughts or sudden floods can devastate the areas where fireflies live and breed, making it even harder for them to survive. But despite all these challenges, fireflies still have a chance. Efforts are being made around the world to preserve and restore their natural habitats. Prolonged droughts or sudden floods can devastate the areas where fireflies live and breed, making it even harder for them to survive. But despite all these challenges, fireflies still have a chance. Efforts are being made around the world to preserve and restore their natural habitats. In some countries, insect conservation programs are helping to replant natural areas and reduce light pollution, creating dark zones where fireflies can shine and communicate freely. And there's more, fireflies aren't just fascinating because of their light. They play an important role in the ecosystem. They help control pest populations by feeding on small invertebrates, like snails and slugs, which can damage crops. In addition, they are an indicator of environmental health. Where there are fireflies, there's usually a balanced, healthy ecosystem. So, their decline is not just an aesthetic or curious loss, but also a sign that something is wrong with the environment. And now, we've reached that surprise I promised at the beginning of the video. Did you know that not all fireflies glow? That's right. Some species of fireflies, especially those living in more tropical regions, don't produce light at all. These species communicate in other ways, often through chemical signals or vibrations. This is fascinating because it reminds us that the natural world is incredibly diverse and full of different survival strategies. So, the next time you're in a rural area or park, pay close attention. If there are still fireflies around, enjoy that magical moment. And remember, by reducing light pollution, protecting the environment, and supporting the preservation of natural habitats, we can help these little creatures continue lighting up our nights. Now that you know more about fireflies and the reasons behind their disappearance, how about sharing this video with your friends and family? Together, we can make a difference and ensure that future generations can also see these amazing insects lighting up the night sky. Sparrows, small and agile, have always been a common presence in cities and rural areas. But if you pay attention, you'll notice they are disappearing. What is happening to these familiar birds? Why are they vanishing from our squares, gardens, and rooftops? That's what we're going to find out now. These birds are so common that they often go unnoticed. Their ability to adapt to urban environments made them a symbol of modern life. They fly from place to place searching for food, taking advantage of the leftovers we, humans, leave behind. But despite being with us for centuries, their population is dwindling. This decline is alarming because it signals that something is wrong with our ecosystem. If we think about it, the cities that were once full of sparrows are now quieter. One of the main reasons for the decline of sparrows is rampant urbanization. As cities grow, the amount of green space decreases. Sparrows, which depend on these spaces to feed and raise their young, are struggling to find suitable areas to survive. Concrete has replaced vegetation, and the insects they usually hunt are also disappearing. Another important factor is pollution. The air we breathe, especially in large cities, is full of toxic substances that affect the health of sparrows. Just as with humans, birds also suffer from poor air quality. pollution not only harms their breathing but also contaminates the food they eat. Pollutants can be present in the insects and plants that serve as food for sparrows, directly impacting their health. Food is, in fact, a crucial point. With the modernization of cities, the amount of natural food available to sparrows has drastically decreased. They feed mainly on seeds and insects, but with the increasing use of pesticides and the reduction of green areas, these foods have become scarce. Pesticides, besides killing insects, poison the environment, making life even harder for these birds. And while some sparrows have adapted to consuming human food, like breadcrumbs, it's not enough to sustain a healthy population. And we cannot forget about predators. With the rise in cat populations in urban areas, sparrows face a new challenge. Cats are natural hunters, and even when well-fed, they still retain their hunting instincts. Sparrows are easy targets, especially when they are feeding or building their nests. Many cannot escape and end up being caught. Additionally, there is another curious phenomenon, the disappearance of cavities where sparrows usually nest. With the modernization of buildings, many houses and structures are built in such a way that there are no more holes or crevices where sparrows can shelter. In the past, they easily found spaces in old walls or rooftops to build their nests, but today this has become increasingly rare. The lack of safe shelters puts sparrow reproduction at risk. Another point worth highlighting is direct human interference. Many of us don't realize it, but the way we interact with the environment deeply affects the lives of sparrows. Noisy construction, excessive artificial lighting, and the constant movement of cities disturb the natural behavior of these birds. Studies show that too much light at night can disorient sparrows, making it harder for them to find food and even affecting their sleep cycle. Like us, they also need rest to stay healthy. It's interesting to note that, despite being small, sparrows play an important role in the ecosystem. They help control insect populations, maintaining balance in the environment. Additionally, they are pollinators, contributing to the reproduction of various plants. Their disappearance could trigger a series of environmental problems that, in the long run, will also affect us. Another important point to consider is climate change. Rising temperatures and sudden changes in the climate affect the availability of food and the migration of sparrows. They are highly sensitive to environmental changes, and when climate conditions become unfavorable, it directly impacts their ability to survive. Heat waves, heavy rains, and harsher winters hinder the reproduction and survival of new generations of sparrows. The combination of all these factors has led to the accelerated decline of sparrow populations worldwide. But, is there anything we can do to change this situation? The answer is yes. Small actions can make a big difference. For example, we can plant more trees and flowers in our cities, creating more green spaces that can serve as refuges for sparrows. It's also important to avoid using pesticides and promote sustainable gardening practices. Another simple but effective action is to provide proper food for sparrows. If you have a garden or even a balcony, you can set up feeders and leave specific seeds for them. This can help sparrows find food during times of scarcity. And let's not forget about water. Placing small containers with fresh water is also a great way to help these birds. Additionally, it's important to support initiatives aimed at preserving sparrows' natural habitats. Environmental organizations around the world are working to protect areas where these birds still live and reproduce. By supporting these initiatives, we are helping to ensure a future for sparrows. It's interesting to observe that, in some parts of the world, conservation efforts are already showing positive results. In cities where favorable environments have been created for sparrows, such as green areas and buildings with spaces for nests, sparrow populations have started to recover. This shows that with the right actions, there is still hope for sparrows. But for these efforts to continue yielding results, we need awareness. More people need to know about the situation of sparrows and the importance of their preservation. Nature is a delicate balance, and the disappearance of one species can have devastating consequences. By protecting sparrows, we are also protecting the environment and, by extension, ourselves. So, the next time you look out your window and don't see a sparrow, remember, they are disappearing. But together, we can make a difference. One last point to consider is environmental education. Informing younger generations about the importance of biodiversity and the impact of human activities on nature is essential if we are to build a more balanced future. Schools, communities, and even social media can be used to spread this message and inspire action. Conserving sparrows is not just about protecting a species, but also about caring for the balance of nature as a whole. By taking simple, conscious actions, we can ensure that sparrows, and so many other species, continue to be part of our daily lives, filling our cities with their songs and agile movements. If we act now, we can reverse this situation and ensure that these small birds continue flying above our heads, reminding us of the beauty and importance of wildlife, even in urban environments. And if you happen to see a sparrow around, feel privileged. It's no longer so easy to spot this beautiful bird. Nature chose you to share this unique moment. Treasure it in your memory, as it may never happen again. As we reflect on the sparrow's decline, it's a reminder of how our actions impact the natural world around us. Each small creature plays a vital role in maintaining the balance of our ecosystems. So, let's not take their presence for granted. Together, we can take steps to protect and preserve not only sparrows but all the wildlife that makes our world so rich and diverse. The future of these birds is in our hands. Let's make sure it's a bright one. Butterflies have always symbolized beauty, lightness, and transformation. Their delicate flight between flowers has charmed generations over time. However, if we look closely, we'll notice something alarming: they are disappearing. And we're not just talking about a few exotic species. The disappearance of butterflies is a global reality happening silently but devastatingly. Today, we'll discuss what lies behind this threat. Have you ever stopped to think about the impact butterflies have on the ecosystem? They aren't just fragile beings that decorate our gardens. They are crucial pollinators for many plants. Without butterflies, flowers wouldn't be pollinated, and without pollination, many plant species would simply cease to exist. This includes some of the plants that provide essential food for us, humans. But if they are so important, why are we allowing them to disappear? The reasons for the decline of butterflies are many. One of the main ones is habitat loss. Butterflies need specific environments to live and reproduce. They rely on the right plants to lay their eggs, the appropriate conditions for their larvae to develop, and an ecological balance that is being threatened by human activities. Intensive agriculture, urbanization, and deforestation are the main culprits. More and more natural areas are being converted into monocultures, leading to the loss of plant diversity and, consequently, a lack of food for butterflies. Wildflowers are disappearing, and with them, the natural habitats of these incredible creatures. Another alarming factor is the use of pesticides and herbicides. These chemicals, widely used in agriculture, don't just affect pests but all forms of life around them. Butterflies are extremely sensitive to these substances. When they feed on plants treated with these chemicals, they are poisoned. And it's not just the current generation that suffers. Many of these chemicals have long-term effects, also impacting future generations of butterflies. Additionally, herbicides eliminate native plants, which are essential for butterflies' life cycles. There's an interesting yet sad phenomenon happening: global warming. Climate change is altering the migration patterns and behaviors of butterflies. Some species, which used to migrate during specific times of the year, are now losing their ability to complete these migrations successfully. This is because temperatures, rainfall, and seasons are changing. Butterflies, which have always followed a natural rhythm, are now disoriented. They reach their destinations either too early or too late, directly affecting their survival and the continuation of their species. We can't forget that butterflies are bioindicators. This means that their presence, or lack thereof, reflects the health of the environment. When butterflies begin to disappear, it's a clear sign that the ecosystem is unbalanced. And when we talk about ecological imbalance, we're discussing something that doesn't just affect butterflies but all of us. Every time a species vanishes, a part of nature's balance breaks, and the consequences can be felt throughout the entire food chain. Now, let's think together. What can we do? Are there ways to reverse this situation? The answer is yes, but it requires immediate action. One of the most effective solutions is creating habitats that are favorable to butterflies. This can start on a small scale, like in our own gardens. Planting native flowers, avoiding the use of pesticides, and creating healthy environments can make all the difference. Gardens with plants like milkweed, for example, are an invitation for butterflies. They need these plants to lay their eggs and feed their larvae. A simple act like planting a flower can help save an entire species. Furthermore, large-scale conservation initiatives are also being implemented. Natural reserves and ecological parks are created specifically to protect butterflies and their habitats. However, these initiatives need public and governmental support to be effective. This is where awareness comes into play. Environmental education is one of the most powerful tools we have to change this scenario. The more people know about the importance of butterflies, the more they will be willing to act. You might be wondering, why are butterflies so important? Well, aside from being essential pollinators, as we've already mentioned, they also play a vital role in pest control. Their caterpillars feed on plant leaves that, if left unchecked, could cause significant problems for crops. In other words, indirectly, butterflies also help agriculture. Butterflies also hold a special place in culture and art worldwide. In various traditions, they symbolize transformation and renewal. Their life cycle, transitioning from caterpillar to chrysalis to a magnificent flying insect, is a metaphor for life, change, and evolution. Losing butterflies would be like losing a significant part of our connection to nature and everything it represents. So, how can we ensure that future generations don't live in a world without butterflies? We need to act now. We need to protect their habitats, support conservation policies, and change the way we interact with the environment. This isn't something we can leave for later. The disappearance of butterflies is a clear warning that something is profoundly wrong with our planet. Now that you know more about this silent crisis, what will you do about it? Maybe you can start by planting some flowers in your garden, or perhaps you'd like to get involved in a local awareness campaign. The important thing is not to ignore the problem. Butterflies give us important clues about the state of our planet. They are telling us it's time to change. And like any change, it starts with small steps, with individual actions that, together, can transform the world. So, the next time you see a butterfly flying near you, remember everything it represents. And also remember that if we do nothing, we may lose this delicate but essential creature forever. Don't let the disappearance of butterflies go unnoticed. They need us, and we need them. Now that we better understand the impact of butterflies, let's reflect on the urgency of protecting them. Time is running out, but as we've seen, there is still hope if we act now. Small gestures can lead to significant changes. Imagine that, in every city, in every neighborhood, people like you decide to create small sanctuaries for butterflies, planting flowers and avoiding chemicals. Over time, these local efforts can combine to form a network of support for these fragile beings. Have you ever stopped to think about the fundamental role bees play in our ecosystem? These small creatures, often underestimated, are true pillars of life on Earth. But what if, suddenly, they disappeared? What would happen? Get ready for a fascinating journey that reveals the consequences of this disappearance. Let's discover together. Bees are responsible for pollinating about 1/3 of the plants we consume. This includes fruits, vegetables, and even some of our favorite nuts. Without them, our food supply would become scarce and monotonous. Imagine a world without juicy strawberries or crisp apples. But the impact of bees goes far beyond what we put on our plates. They are essential for plant biodiversity. Without pollination, many plant species would fail to reproduce, leading to the extinction of several over time. Now, think about the consequences of that. The decrease in plant diversity would directly affect the fauna. Animals that rely on these plants for food would find themselves without sustenance. This would include not only herbivores but also predators that depend on those herbivores to survive. A collapsing food chain. And it doesn't stop there. The extinction of plants and animals would dramatically affect ecosystems. The habitats that support various species would be destroyed, leading to an imbalance that could result in a true ecological collapse. But let's delve a little deeper. Bees also aid in the production of crops that are essential for industry. Without them, the production of coffee, chocolate, and even some alcoholic beverages would be drastically reduced. The global food trade would face a collapse, resulting in exorbitant prices and product shortages. Can you imagine paying double for a chocolate bar? That could become a reality. Moreover, the economic impact would be immense. Agricultural industries would lose billions of dollars. Farmers would face enormous challenges, which could lead to the bankruptcy of small farms and an increase in the number of people going hungry. This scenario is not just a problem for farmers. It would affect all of us, as food scarcity would translate into high prices and a limited diet. But we cannot forget the psychological impact this would have on society. The connection we have with nature and biodiversity is vital for our well-being. The loss of bees would mean not just a loss of food diversity but also a loss of natural beauty. Flowering gardens, vibrant landscapes, and the pleasant aromas of fresh fruits would become distant memories. Nature, which comforts us so much, would start to lose its luster and vitality. Now, let's talk about what we can do to prevent this apocalyptic scenario. Raising awareness about the importance of bees and the crucial role they play in our ecosystems is fundamental. We can support sustainable agriculture and avoid excessive pesticide use. Each of us can contribute by planting native flowers in our gardens, creating bee-friendly environments. Small acts can have a big impact. Education is also a powerful tool. Teaching future generations about the importance of bees and how to care for them can make all the difference. Young people can become advocates for nature and biodiversity in the future. And remember, supporting initiatives aimed at protecting bees and their habitats is essential. Organizations and projects working towards conservation are key to ensuring that bees continue to play their vital role. In conclusion, the disappearance of bees is not just a matter of a lack of honey or flowers in our gardens. It is a matter of survival for the entire planet. The consequences would be devastating, affecting our food supply, economy, and ecological balance. But there is still time to act. Each of us can make a difference. So the next time you see a bee buzzing around you, remember that it is much more than just a simple pollinator. It is a guardian of our ecosystem, and it is up to us to protect it. Let's fight together for a world where bees can thrive. After all, a future without bees is a future without life. Think for a moment about how crucial pollination is for our diet. Most of the fruits and vegetables you love are the result of the tireless work of bees. Without them, you might as well say goodbye to many of the foods that make up your daily meals. And we're not just talking about exotic varieties. Staples like apples, pears, and even potatoes depend on this tiny insect. Imagine a dinner table without fresh salads, juicy fruits, or even the famous chocolate that many adore. That would be devastating, wouldn't it? Now, take it a step further. Food scarcity would directly impact the global economy. Food prices would skyrocket, and many might not have access to basic necessities. Countries that depend on agriculture as their main source of income would face severe crises, leading to an increase in poverty and social instability. This would transform into a vicious cycle of hunger and misery. Another intriguing aspect is that bees are also agents of climate change. They help regulate soil temperature and moisture, playing a vital role in ecosystem balance. The absence of bees would cause significant ecological imbalance, resulting in more frequent and severe natural disasters. Floods, droughts, and sudden temperature changes would become more common, affecting the lives of millions of people. And here's a fact you might not know: bees have a direct impact on our mental health. Studies show that interacting with nature, including observing pollinators like bees, can reduce stress and increase happiness. They are part of an ecosystem that brings us peace and tranquility. Without their presence, we might not only lose biodiversity but also the well-being that nature provides us. Now, you might be wondering, what can we do? The truth is that awareness is the first step. Sharing information about the importance of bees and what's at stake if they disappear can help raise awareness among more people. Awareness campaigns can help change behaviors, making more people engage in protecting bees. Another simple action is to create a bee-friendly environment around you. This includes planting native flowers that attract pollinators. By choosing plants that bloom at different times of the year, you can ensure that there's always food available for bees, allowing them to thrive in your gardens and green spaces. Education is a powerful tool. By teaching children and young people about the importance of bees, we are shaping a new generation that values and protects biodiversity. This can be done in schools, community groups, or local workshops. The more knowledge we have, the more effective we will be in our actions. Finally, we cannot forget the importance of scientific research. Science continues to study bees and their habitats, seeking ways to protect them and improve their living conditions. Supporting organizations dedicated to this research is crucial for the survival of bees. In summary, the disappearance of bees would pose an unprecedented threat to our health, food security, and even our culture. So let's unite and act now. The fight for bee survival is a fight for a healthier and more sustainable future for all of us. Be the voice that advocates for these little giants, and together, we can ensure that they continue to be part of our world for many generations. After all, without bees, life on Earth as we know it would change forever. The chicken is undoubtedly one of the most important species on the planet when it comes to the global economy. And why is that? Because this animal, often overlooked, is present in virtually every corner of the world, feeding billions of people daily. The chicken is not just a source of meat and eggs, it's a symbol of survival and sustainability. Since ancient times, humans have learned to raise chickens, but it was in the modern era that they became a key piece in global food production. Let's start by understanding the scale of this impact. It is estimated that there are over 33 billion chickens worldwide. That's right, 33 billion. To put that into perspective, that's more than 4 times the human population. Chicken is the most consumed meat in the world, surpassing beef and pork. Eggs, on the other hand, are a rich source of protein, essential for human development. But how did the chicken reach this level? How did this animal, originally from Asia, spread across the globe, raised in both large industrial farms and small backyard coops? The answer lies in its versatility. Chickens adapt to virtually any climate and environment. Whether in cold or tropical regions, they can survive and reproduce. Furthermore, feeding chickens is relatively simple, which makes large-scale production easier. With grains, corn, food scraps, and other easily found items, they grow quickly and produce meat and eggs in no time. However, it's not just their adaptability that makes chickens essential to the economy. The poultry industry is one of the largest job generators in the world. According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, millions of people work directly or indirectly with chicken farming, whether in bird management, feed production, transportation, slaughter, or product processing. This impact goes beyond job creation. Chickens are fundamental to the food security of many countries. In places where beef or pork is more expensive or harder to produce, chicken becomes the most affordable and nutritious option. But we cannot discuss the importance of chickens without mentioning their role in developing economies. In many countries across Africa and Asia, small farms rely on chicken farming to survive. With few resources, families raise chickens to secure their food and can still sell the surplus in local markets, generating extra income. In these places, chickens are more than just a food source. They are a valuable asset, an economic commodity that can be traded, sold, or used as a store of value in times of crisis. Another important point is sustainability. In recent years, the world has faced growing concerns about the environment, and livestock farming, especially cattle, has been criticized for its environmental impact. Beef production requires large amounts of land, water, and generates significant greenhouse gas emissions. Chicken farming, on the other hand, is much more efficient in this regard. To produce a kilogram of chicken meat, far fewer resources are needed compared to beef. This makes chickens a more sustainable option for feeding the world's growing population. And when we talk about sustainability, we cannot forget about eggs. They are one of the most efficient sources of protein available. A single egg contains all the essential amino acids the human body needs, along with vitamins and minerals. In a world where malnutrition is still a serious problem, especially in developing countries, eggs play a crucial role in the nutrition of children and adults. Additionally, egg production has a smaller environmental footprint compared to other animal-based foods. Laying hens are extremely efficient. They can produce around 300 eggs per year, with a much smaller carbon footprint than other protein sources. Now, you might be wondering, what about the welfare of chickens? This is a delicate issue that has gained increasing attention in recent years. Intensive chicken farming, especially in large industrial farms, has been criticized for the conditions in which the birds are kept. In many places, they live in cramped spaces, without access to outdoor areas and with little freedom to move. However, this scenario is changing. With the growing awareness of animal welfare, many countries have implemented stricter laws regarding chicken farming. Moreover, modern consumers are becoming more demanding. Nowadays, many people look for products that ensure chickens are raised in good conditions, free from cages and with access to the outdoors. Still, the road ahead is long, and the challenge of balancing large-scale production with animal welfare remains. The good news is that technological innovation has made this task a little easier. In recent years, advances in chicken nutrition, genetics, and management have allowed them to be raised in healthier and more efficient ways. Additionally, new technologies have been developed to monitor farming conditions in real time, ensuring that chickens are in suitable environments and receiving the necessary care. And of course, we cannot forget the economic impact of chicken meat and egg exports for many countries. Brazil, the United States, and China are among the largest exporters of chicken meat globally, and this export generates billions of dollars in revenue for these countries. Brazil, for instance, is responsible for about 30% of the world's chicken meat exports, supplying markets in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. This export not only strengthens the economy but also helps stabilize food prices in the domestic market. The importance of the chicken to the global economy is undeniable. It feeds billions of people, generates millions of jobs, supports families in developing countries, and offers a more sustainable alternative for the future of food production. However, the challenge of raising chickens sustainably and ethically is far from being solved. With the growing demand for meat and eggs, it is essential that we continue to seek ways to balance production with respect for the environment and animal welfare. And that's precisely why the chicken, although such a common animal, deserves all of our respect and attention. In addition to all its economic, social, and environmental benefits, the chicken also plays a cultural role in various parts of the world. In many places, chickens are seen as a symbol of prosperity and abundance. At parties and celebrations, chicken meat is often the main dish, representing accessible yet nutritious food. Throughout history, this animal has been mentioned in mythologies, folklore, and even in religions. Another interesting point is the growing trend of urban chicken farming. More and more people in big cities are choosing to raise their own chickens in backyards and gardens, seeking a closer connection with nature and the origins of the food they consume. This practice, besides providing fresh eggs daily, also promotes a more sustainable and conscious lifestyle. Thus, the chicken is much more than just a farm animal. It is intrinsically linked to the history and future of human food, serving as a fundamental piece to ensure global food security.